Doesn't feel like spring without the first tulips. Right now, 30 tulips, $30. 1-800-Flowers.com. Enter the code HERD, H-E-R-D. Amazing offer. Spring's here. Easter. Easter's coming up. Easter Sunday, I believe, John. Yeah, Easter Sunday. Ski season's almost over. So yesterday, this has been the craziest year ever for trades. It's been incredible. I mean, it has been incredible in the NFL. I mean, just this morning, I'm going to do a herd hierarchy at the top of next hour. The 10 best teams, I believe, in the NFL now, based on the offseason. I've never done this before because we've never had this many moves in the NFL before. Now, Jay Glazer was on our show about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, I'm like, I've never seen this many trades. Like quarterbacks, left tackles, star players, moving teams, Marcus Peters in their prime, Sammy Watkins. We've never had anything like this happen in my life covering the NFL, and Jay Glazer explained why it's happening.
Last couple of years, free agency's been a bad game of fantasy football. Guys whose names are big, who are getting overpaid, and you just don't win that way. You don't build. And a lot of teams realize that. They're like, we're not doing this. We're not going and throwing a boatload of money at Ndamukong Suhs and all those guys. It's not a huge type of market because it just doesn't work that way. You got to build through the draft, and you got to smartly go get an Andrew Whitworth that is going to help the quarterback and the off. Right, great one, right? That's the type of guys you need. But then all of a sudden, the Philadelphia Eagles happened last year. And the Eagles went out, and they got guys like Alshon Jeffrey and the Chris Longs, and then they traded for J.J. They almost played this game that has become taboo, and all of a sudden, Philly had success with it, and that's why I think you see all these teams this year, they have changed their ways. They're like, because it's a what have you done for me lately league.
So, I mean, just think about the Rams. They signed Ndamukong Suh yesterday. They brought in an elite corner, Aqib Talib, another elite corner, the best in the league, maybe Marcus Peters. They brought in another corner, Sam Shields. They let Sammy Watkins go. I mean, all sorts. You got teams out there that still have 8, 9, 10 draft picks, one or two glaring needs, massive moves. So yesterday the Rams go after Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh, let me tell you the book on Ndamukong Suh. He's a very smart player that kind of does his own thing. He'll move in and out of gaps. He'll do things that drives coaches crazy. He's kind of playing his own game, not within the system. That's what all the scout guys I know, they're like, yeah, he's a bull. He's amazing. He's talented. He didn't play within the structure of a system. But let's remember now, divas can work. I would label him as a diva. Ndamukong Suh is a bit of a diva. But here's the ABCs of diva when they work. T.O. worked for a year in Philly and Dallas. Darrelle Revis, Randy Moss. When did divas work? When you hit on the A, the B, and the C. The A is, are you playing for something? It's a one-year deal. He's playing for a contract. Are you walking into a non-chaotic, established locker room? Rams have Sean McVay, the NFL's golden head coaching child, and Wade Phillips, a widely respected defensive coordinator. And do you have a C, an opportunity for increased production? For the first time in his life, you won't be able to double-team Ndamukong Suh. When it comes to divas, ABC. Are you playing for something? He is a contract. Are you walking into a good situation? Rams are loaded with good leadership. And is there an opportunity for the diva to walk in and get increased production so he's happy? Darrelle Revis for a year in New England. Okay. Randy Moss. All right. Now I get Tom Brady. Divas work, ABC. And that's what the Rams feel about this. He's playing for something. It's a good environment. And he's going to have elevated production because Aaron Donald is the best defensive tackle in the game, and it's not even arguable at this point. Aaron Donald's the closest thing we've seen in the NFL to Reggie White. He's not as good as Reggie White, but he is dominant. Playing for something, good environment, elevated production. Is he a need? Not really, but this is very reminiscent of what the Seahawks did with Pete Carroll. When they had Russell Wilson on a rookie contract, they went out and used Percy Harvin and Cliff Averill, overpaid for both. Percy Harvin's no longer there. He was there about a minute, a couple Seattle rainstorms. But they could overpay for him because they were paying their quarterback nothing. Rams paying Jared Goff, nothing. $6 million cap hit, nothing. So it works. ABC, it works. Veteran newsman John Goulet.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Colin, you mentioned this before yesterday. The Sixers beat the Nuggets, but the big news was that they got Markelle Fultz back to miss just a mere 68 games this season.
Yeah, just a little hiatus.
There was all those stories about how his shot was broken and it mimics Charles Barkley's golf swing.
Look good.
After the game, Fultz and Joel Embiid talked about what it meant for him to be back for the Sixers.
A little bit of excitement and a little bit of just like, I got to help the team. Like, I don't want to let the team down. So, I mean, once I stepped on the floor, it felt great just to be back out there.
He gives us another great pace. He can score. He can find ways to score and also set guys up. You can tell by, like 8 assists tonight in on the 14 minutes. That's big time. That's what we don't need him to do. Score the ball, get guys involved and create offensive because sometimes I feel like we need that too.
You have been somewhat of a 76ers hater, if you will.
First of all, you're marginalized.
I'm not saying you hate that. I'm saying a hater.
Okay, the process was awful, still bad, and now it pops, and I'm a hater.
I'm simply asking, do you think that Fultz returning, does that change your view of the process at all?
Well, if he can, he did play a game. So I think we could scale back the expectations. I think this team's going to go to the playoffs and get bounced in the first round. Although I just think with Philadelphia is a weird city. Like, I picked the Eagles to win the NFC East and I called them a dark horse favorite to win the Super Bowl, and they think I hate their Eagles. And then I said I love Ben Simmons. I mean, didn't I say before the draft a year ago when everybody was saying...
You did say anyone who wasn't going to take him number one was...
Yeah, Ben Simmons was like the best since LeBron, the best out of high school, one-year college guy since LeBron. All I'm saying is give it some context. Ben can't shoot. Embiid still in 31 minutes. Neither played as rookies. Markelle Fultz, I mean, they hit him in a gym this year. He came out, and last night he hit the rim a couple times. Okay, we're good. Let's not go crazy on it.
Technically, Fultz is their most productive guy they've drafted in the first year.
Thank
the other
you.
two didn't play.
Thank you.
So yesterday we talked about the Warriors not going to have Steph for 3 weeks due to his sprained MCL. Steve Kerr said not playing round one of the playoffs. Curry thinks he might be able to play sooner than Kerr thinks. But Kerr actually went a step further yesterday.
Oh.
He said that he was explaining why he won't play Steph in the first round. It's actually because he thinks the Warriors can beat anybody without Steph. Here's what he said.
All right.
But we're perfectly capable of winning and beating anybody. Regular season playoffs, we can beat anybody in the league without Steph. And our guys know that. It's going to be hard to beat anybody without Steph, KD, Clay, and Draymond. I'm going to have to coach a lot better for that to happen, but we're very confident we're going to get the other 3 guys back here soon, and we'll hold down the fort and then some. I think we'll be able to put something together and really build some momentum.
By the way, is it possible in the history of the NBA that if Golden State plays Minnesota in round one, there have never been more elite players in a round one playoff series? Rank them. Steph, KD, Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green. That's 8 elite NBA players.
Not often Andrew Wiggins is the 7th best player on the court. Right, now it has changed. Right now they're set to play the Jazz because the Timberwolves fell down to the 8th seed last night.
Yeah, but they're all separated by a game.
There's one game, yeah.
I mean, listen, I think they beat Minnesota, but Butler's coming back. I'm going to tell you something. Karl Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, Tibbs plays defense, no Steph. Those are close competitive basketball games.
Could they get any further without? I think everyone agrees they could win the first round series without Steph. Could they get any further without him?
No, because I think
could they beat Portland, let's say, in the second round without Steph?
If Portland could win one of the first 2 games, it'd be really tough. I just think with no Steph, the tempo changes for Golden State, and they're a little bit more plodding and much more beatable. Steph's not just about the points and the threes. The pace of the game when he's on the floor for Golden State is an elevated pace beyond the rest of the league.
And finally, Robert Kraft was asked about the tension between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady after the Super Bowl. Kraft says he met with both Brady and Belichick since losing to the Eagles. Here's what he had to say.
We met, and I meet individually with each of them. But the thing that I don't know if it's completely understood, that Bill and Tom communicate and meet a lot and spend a lot of time communicating. And I think the residual of this loss, was really hard on everyone.
Agree with Kraft that it's
Yes.
kind of a first world problem?
Yes, I mean, again, the last 4 Patriot drives were touchdown, 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 driving and fumble. Like, we're not contextualizing this. Like, this is, by the way, how New England wins or loses all their Super Bowls. By, 3. This is how they all work. The Seattle one, they were going to lose and they won. And then the Atlanta one, they were going to lose and they won. And the Jacksonville game before the Super Bowl, they were going to lose and they won. And this one, they were going to lose and they lost. Like, it's hard as you get older. But I think, again, this is like our nanny's late. My Range Rover doesn't have a rear view camera. We lost to a great Eagles team in the Super Bowl in the last minute. These are world-class problems.
First-class problems.
First-class problems. Yeah, you're right. Veteran French newsman John Goulet.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Speaking of a veteran, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, multiple-time Pro Bowler, played and carried John Elway for his entire career. His name is Mark Schlereth is joining us. Elway's a slouch. Elway's lucky to have you in his life.
Yeah, he was. John was 0-3 in Super Bowls before I got there. That's all I'm saying. Veteran news, man. By the way, that will never. I heard that for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
John Goulet, veteran newsman. That will never not be funny. That is 100% of the time that's going to be funny to me. Like I'm just walking around the hallways going, veteran newsman.
This guy broke a story yesterday. Not you specifically, but you did go to Twitter.
I read it from Twitter.
You read it
counts.
from Twitter, which
Yes.
on our show counts as journalism.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let's go. I was joking to start the show. Not really joking, but saying, when you drive by a restaurant and it says under new management, what it's really saying is nobody ate here.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are restaurants like Cleveland and Indy and San Francisco and Buffalo. Under new management, we're rebuilding here. We're changing the menu. My argument is the Giants are too. They're fiddling with the awning. They just haven't put the sign up. JPP edge rusher gone. Odell Beckham now in the trading block. Their center, who was their best offensive lineman, he's a Niner. If you go to Pro Football Focus, top 15 players NFC East, they've got 2. Philadelphia's got 7. Dallas has 4 or 5. I think they're a rebuilding team. I would trade Odell Beckham.
Oh, I would too. I'd get rid of him. There comes this point of diminishing returns when the nonsense that you have to deal with starts to outweigh what you think is the production. Then it's time to move on. And we've seen this. I mean, we see it with Marcus Peters. Come on, that guy can play, right?
He's probably the best corner in the
right.
league.
He is now a Ram. We saw it with Aqib Talib. In Denver, we were sold this bill of goods that Aqib Talib is no longer going to be here because we're in the Kirk Cousins business.
Right.
Right? So we need to clear up that $11 million of cap so we can get Kirk Cousins. Then we signed Case Keenum. Like, wait a minute, did we really need to move Aqib Talib? No, we're just tired of Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib's a great player.
Great
player. And he is the soundtrack of the football team for us. But you know what? He's pushing guys in the back. He's shouting other guys down. He showed his frustration. He's getting in fights with Michael Crabtree. Time to move on. And listen, he's a great player. And he was a great Bronco. But they just got, as an organization, they got tired
of it. Answering questions.
Sure. And so they're tired of Odell Beckham Jr. I called the Giants game late in the season for Fox.
Oh, you did?
And they were horrific. I mean, it reminded me, watching them play on the offensive side of the ball, reminded me of the 4th preseason game. When you put out 5 offensive linemen and then every one of them gets cut the next day, right? Like, hey, hope it works out for you. Life is good,
UPS is hiring.
Right, exactly. They give you the trash bag and say, everybody leave.
Right.
Here's just put some stuff in the trash bag and walk out of our locker room.
So you watch the Giants, and my takeaway is they have the number 2 pick. They could trade that for 4. Odell Beckham. They could get 1 or 2. Mark, Philadelphia and Dallas have better rosters. Cowboys have 10 picks and one glaring weakness: safety. which is a marginalized position. It's become the fullback of the 70s. Nobody wants two. They want one, and he can't be a thumper. He's got to have range. We've marginalized the safety into can he cover? It used to be thumper, run downhill and blow people up.
Right.
So, I look at the Giants with and without Odell Beckham. Here's some pretty interesting numbers. They're sub 500 with him. They're sub 500 without him. Now, obviously, they score more with him, and they get about 50 yards more a game with him. Would you be concerned if you let him go, our offensive production dips?
Well, no, because I'm like, what are you going to do in return? You've got other issues. Like, you need to revamp your offensive line in its entirety. Now, you did that with the left tackle position. You addressed that, getting Nate Solder, but you still have a bunch of different issues across the front. You couldn't run the football. You've got a young tight end in Ingram, who I think could be a really special player at the tight end position, but you've got plenty of other holes. Defensively, your linebacking core, to me, was a mess last year.
Eli Apple, nobody's quite sure if it's going to last.
Yeah, so you had all kinds of different issues. You're 100% right. You're rebuilding. What can you get for Beckham? He's coming off an ankle injury, and frankly, you're just tired of him. And I tell you what happens inside a locker room. You get a guy like that is supremely gifted.
Yeah.
That keeps telling you that, hey, I'm going to mature, and I'm just a young player, and I'm just, this, that, and the other. And at some point, I resent him. Like, if I'm in the locker room, I resent him. Like, God has reached down, the hand of God has reached down and put more talent in your fingertip, in your pinky, than I have in my entire body, and you continue to piss it away.
Yeah.
By making bad decisions. And it's really interesting.
Nobody will say that, by the way, publicly, because he is so wildly, profoundly popular. Nobody
Sure.
wants the blowback on social media.
Absolutely not. But think about this. Go back to that playoff game when he and the rest of the crew went down to Miami and spent time shirtless on the boat.
Right.
Okay? Bad decision. And everybody made it a joke, right? Like, everybody in the media was like, hey, this is a bad look. This is not good. And Eli made some quippy joke about, like they made a bad decision. They were shirtless,
Right.
Ha, ha, ha. Everybody laughs. Ben McAdoo made it not a big deal. Blah, it's their day off. It didn't affect us. They were here ready to work on Wednesday. Then what happened? They go out, that receiving core goes out, drops a bunch of balls.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. dropped a touchdown, dropped a couple of balls. And what happened at post-game after they lost that game? Eli Manning, Ben McAdoo, hey, man, if you're going to go to Miami, and I'm paraphrasing, you darn well better show up on Sunday ready to play.
Yeah.
And it's a bad look. And you keep having bad look after bad look after bad look. And in the locker room, I'm looking at you going, dude, you're not committed to this team. You're committed to you. You don't play for the Giants. You play for Odell Beckham Jr. And you know what that's a recipe for? That's a recipe for being under 500 and not winning championships. And I don't want that.
Okay, another guy that I would label as a diva who's kind of doing his own thing, but we don't think of defensive linemen as divas. We think of receivers. I think Ndamukong Suh's a bit of a diva.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. I had this source last year. He didn't want to practice in Miami. Like, veteran players in Miami were like, dude, come on, ramp it up. You got a big contract, got to practice. You watch line play. Is it fair to say he's kind of doing, like Odell, sometimes he's kind of doing his own thing?
Yeah.
Do you like the move here?
I actually like it paired with Aaron Donald. I think Aaron Donald is the best player in football.
I think you're right.
So I just think he's the best. I think he's the best player in the National Football League. The guy is a freak show.
Yeah.
Absolute freak show. So I think, one, you get in that situation and that guy practices the way he practices and he plays the way he plays, you instantly have to ramp up your game. Like, I went to the Denver Broncos from the Washington Redskins, and I practiced hard and I prepared and I studied, and then I lined up next to Gary Zimmerman and I was like, damn, I got to pick up my game. Like, he practices faster than I do. Like, you're like shocked, right? And he makes you look bad. And he's not trying to. He just does by the way he plays. Right. So you're like, doggone, I got to pick it up.
Right.
And so I think that will have an effect on Ndamukong Suh. I'll be really interested to see, because I think two things happen to guys that get paid like he got paid. One, you start trying to do more than your job. You want to justify the money.
That's a good point.
Okay? So you try to do more than your job. And that's part of it. The other thing that happens is I got paid so much, I can freelance, because nobody's going to correct me. And so I saw a guy that's still wildly talented that was oftentimes undisciplined. he had the B gap, and the next thing you know, he's making a swim move on a run play, and he's beyond the C gap. And then this gaping chasm opens up, and it's a 17-yard run.
By the way, if he was a wide receiver, we'd crush him. We don't pay attention to defensive linemen. This is why I say Sue's a diva. We just don't call defensive linemen divas.
Right.
And I think divas, I call it the ABC of diva. A, do you have something to play for? He does, one-year deal. B, is it a non-chaotic environment? Miami is a mess. Rams are solid. And C, for a diva, can you get elevated production to make you happy? Randy Moss with Brady. Terrell in New England. T.O. initially with McNabb. Well, they can't double Ndamukong Suh.
No.
So something to play for, stable environment. I think Sue's going to have elevated production now.
I would actually be surprised if he doesn't lead the league in sacks from the interior position. Because he's going to be, you're right.
He's been doubled since high school.
Like, he's going to be one-on-one with your right guard. It's going to be slide protection to 99 on the other side.
Right.
And it's going to be wide open. Like, you are going to have so many opportunities, and Wade Phillips does a phenomenal job. Their defense coordinator does a phenomenal job of not only picking the weakness and saying, we're going to create a one-on-one with this guy, but think about it. You're going to be one-on-one with the right guards across the board in National Football League. And, hey, Arizona, by the way, newsflash, they haven't been very good up front. Seattle, they've been atrocious up front.
Right now, it is a bad, outside of the Rams, it's three really shaky O-lines.
Yes.
And you'll be playing, those will be 6 of your games.
6 games.
Seattle may have the worst O-line in the league.
Yes. And so you're going into a picture-perfect situation for you to sign another. I mean, how many times do you get to sign, 3 big contracts,
right? Third?
Well, he's a first-rounder.
Rookie. Boom.
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 Yeah, and then a 1-year, $14 million deal. And now you're going to be, 32? And you're going to have another opportunity to cash in? Like, this is the perfect storm opportunity for Ndamukong Suh to kind of to recapture Ndamukong Suh from Detroit when he was the most coveted, free agent on the market.
And feared player in the league. Mark Schlereth, 3 Super Bowls and a bunch of Pro Bowls, and John Elway. You just thank your lucky stars because you were going into you were a stiff.
Yeah.
You couldn't win the big game. You was stiff before that guy.
That and TD.
Coming up next, I've never heard an athlete go crazy like this. He did on our show yesterday. That's next.